It's fast, it's challenging, and it's addictive. It's an international game that's not played on grass fields or computer screens, but in bars and family rooms. Adults like it, kids love it. And at the dawn of a new century, table soccer's flexing its muscles. But can the sport that was based on a sport itself hold its own? Can it triumph over video games? Can it hang with the big guns at the major leagues? The test begins here, Las Vegas, Nevada, the Rio Hotel and Casino. For the first time since the 1970s, real money's up for grabs. But the Warrior Indoor-Outdoor Sports Extravaganza isn't so much about doling out winnings as it is about pumping new life into a century-old pastime. This is table soccer, and this very well may be its second coming. From the Rio Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's the start of a whole new era for table soccer. It's Warriors' first ever indoor-outdoor sports extravaganza. Hi, and welcome inside the Rio. I'm Troy Kinsey. Well, it's been over 30 years since table soccer first became one of the world's most popular indoor sports. Since then, it's seen its ups and, more recently, its downs. But this just may very well be the event that puts what many call foosball back on the popular culture radar. We'll tell you why, but first let's go back behind the goals. Back in the 1970s, back when foosball was young. It all began in America's heartland. The year was 1974, and just as disco and bell-bottoms were coming of age, so too was a little-known game that started in Europe. Actually, it was a game based on a game. Around the early 1900s, the soccer-crazy continent took to playing its favorite sport indoors in miniature size. It took more than a half-century for the game to make it big in America, and when it did, big money started popping up too. When $50,000 was put up for grabs at a tournament in Colorado, the sport's top players flocked to the Rockies. It was the first time they'd meet.
At that $50,000 tournament, you had a clash of styles that had never happened before, and it'll never happen again. Because what happened was you had these regional players from Texas, Minnesota, Portland, Seattle, Denver, that had been playing for many, many years and had never been beaten. Mike Bowers hadn't lost a match in 5 years. I'd lost scant few in years. And literally, we thought in our little old minds there was nobody in the world that could beat us. So it was this huge clash of styles and personalities, and it was just a pretty amazing tournament. And at first there was a lot of animosity and anger and infighting, and once that was all through, what it settled down to be was a lot of respect. And those first players in those first few years were, I believe, the best era of, and I mean the style and the strength of the player were better than even today.
One of those first few players was Mike Bowers. He's been called the King of Colorado and the Godfather of Foos. It goes without saying he's a world champion in his own right. For him, it all started in his college fraternity's basement. 30 years later, he's still at it.
It's a game that quite literally anybody can play. There's handicapped people in the sport. There's guys that can come up to it in a wheelchair or whatever. You know, it doesn't have physical limitations, and you can take it as far as you want to. And there's a lot of heart and passion out here. And with the money, it's an opportunity for somebody to actually make this a full-time thing for themselves again. In the 70s, I would say maybe the top 10, 15 players, that's all they had to do was play foosball. That made a living for them. You know, if you were making $30,000 a year in the 70s, that was a good living. It's like making $100,000 a year now. So if they actually get this going, this is the beginning of $1 million tour here. I think it's got to be up in the 2, 3, 4 million level, you know, to really get recognized. But I think with just $1 million out there, you're going to see a lot more dedication than you're seeing. Some of these guys are going to get down in their basements and they're going to put in 6, 8, 10-hour days, and they're going to get really, really good and go after that cash.
But going after the cash became a whole lot harder with the onset of the 80s. Video games and VCRs became the new indoor pastime, and the foosball tournaments that once awarded hundreds of thousands of dollars in prize money, they all but disappeared. Along with them, nearly went the sport itself. Until now. Former professional foozer Brendan Flaherty's upping the ante. Along with his companies, Warrior Custom Golf and Warrior Table Soccer, he's holding the largest tournament since Foosball's heyday. It features Warrior's brand new table and a $200,000 purse. He's calling this Foosball's new renaissance. Most players agree.
I think it's the lack of competition. When one distributor seems to dominate the field, the area, he really doesn't have to rise to the competition and keep growing. They can kind of feel comfortable where they are. Well, that's why I'm very excited that Brendan Flaherty and the Warrior is going to add some money to our sport, and maybe through competition it'll raise in all levels.
I'd like to welcome you guys here this weekend. It's great to see the support that we've got from the United States and from the players around the world.
But if Warrior wants to steal the show right here and right now, it means catching up with nearly 30 years of advancements in table technology. The game might be simple, but its venue isn't. Some of the first modern tables were designed over a half-century ago in Europe. Then American servicemen stationed overseas began bringing them home. It wasn't long till American businessman Lawrence Peterson started making them stateside. The name of his table? Foosball. Thus began an American pastime.
Pretty good money in the selling of the tables. And foosball, for better or worse, has always been promoted by the manufacturers, you know, and it's been selfish in that way. There's never been an independent company really do it. So the manufacturers use promotion of the tournaments as a tool to sell their tables.
But through the tournaments emerged the pros, the best of the best, the people who would keep table soccer alive even in its darkest days. Names like Hansen and Sumpton, Wiswell and Fury, Bells and Bednar, Schranz and Gilead, Bowers and Lott. They weren't only making big money, they were attracting big followings. Followings that would give rise to the next generation of pros.
I started playing when I was a kid and got hooked on it. Started playing tournaments when I turned around bar age, 21, 20, right in there. And then, you know, for about the past 10 or 12 years, just been playing all the big tournaments. And really, I enjoy doing it. And I'm ranked #1. That doesn't mean I win all the tournaments. You know, I've won at least one major every year since '94, so my consistency is what's got my ranking where it's at. Again, it's easy to stay humble in this game. There's so many good players.
In the world of table soccer, humble is one thing Warrior isn't. The company's new table aims to become the new gold standard in foosball. With its fast playing surface, smaller goals, and classic look, it's designed to please the old-timers, the new pros, and the future of table soccer, kids. So far, it's getting rave reviews.
I like the table. I'm having a bit of a hard time adjusting to it, but it's playing better than I expected. I think it's a great table.
But the real test comes here in Las Vegas at the Warrior Indoor-Outdoor Sports Extravaganza. Hundreds of foosers are competing, but only a handful get a shot at the glory and the largest purse in a quarter century. When we come back, it's a showdown at the Rio. Finals time. The history books are about to be written.
Warrior Custom Golf, America's premier custom club manufacturer, invites you to call today for a free custom-built wedge or test play a complete set of custom-built golf clubs risk-free. Call 1-800-600-5113 or visit us at warriorcustomgolf.com. Again, that number is 1-800-600-5113. Introducing Warrior Indoor Sports, a new and exciting recreational games manufacturer. Call for product and tournament information on our new world-class table soccer game. Call 866-4-Foosball. That's 866-4-Foosball, extension 314, or visit warriortablesoccer.com. Again, that number is 866-436-6722, extension 314.
So, Johnny, here we are for the start of Open Doubles, and we have 4 seasoned players, 2 seasoned teams, Biney and Buck and Lofredo and Collignon.
Yeah, and it's a $30,000 match. It's the largest match that's been played in about 20 years. And this format, a race to 7, none of these players, as experienced as they are, they've never played in that kind of format. So I would put my money on the team that plays best under pressure. And Biney, in the yellow, the forward in the yellow, has been playing a long time, has lots of experience. Chris Buck, his goalie, is less experienced. The other two players are both veteran pros. So I would be leaning away from the team with the amateur as far as who will win, just because of the pressure.
And when you say $30,000, you're talking about $20,000, roughly $20,000 going to one team, and about $10,000 going to the other team.
Right.
So even if you come in second, you're still in the money.
Absolutely, yeah, it pays down. I think the tournament open doubles pays down to about 64th place. So a lot of people walk away with something.
And as we're watching this match right now, Lafredo and Colin Young are the darker men. Biney and Buck are the lighter men. And, you know, normally at this point in a match, in all the other matches we've seen today, we would see a score by this point. Not here. These teams really are duking it out. Yeah,
the better teams, it's a cliche, but defense wins, and the better teams are going to see more defense. And right now, what you're seeing is just the kind of the beginning of the match where they just really are playing cautious and they're just trying to execute on offense. And they're not trying to do anything outside where they're comfortable.
You know, there's been a lot of talk about scrapping and moving the ball forward. It's been called sort of an old-school tactic, and you don't see much of that in these matches, do you?
The guy who fights most to get the ball, you may not notice it too much, but he's usually the guy who wins. A sizable crowd on hand, and we see many of the same faces we saw throughout the entire weekend up in the stands. Rob Atha right there. And these are all players who have been knocked out of it at some point, and I'm sure their loyalties lie in specific players. I mean, they're rooting for certain members of the teams that make it to the finals. Yeah, I would say there's a real sentimental crowd here for Steve Biney. I don't know that he's ever won a world championship. He's a top player. He's won a lot of titles. I'd say he's a sentiment, but the head has to go with the other team. Lafredo's won 15-plus world championships, and Colin Young from Belgium is he just dominates right now. He usually wins when he enters an event. I mean, he's just very calm, very executing type of player. He doesn't miss the shot very often. He makes you block it.
There was a complaint lodged about a minute ago by Lafredo about a cell phone. Apparently a cell phone was beeping or went off, and so they had to stop play for a little bit. They're back at it again. And right now, with control of the ball, are Lafredo and Colin Young.
What you're seeing is Colin Young, who just scored, the ball popped out of the goal. That'll happen sometimes on a real hard shot. The ball still counts. But what you're seeing is Colin Young is a European type of player, and this table has a little bit of a sticky ball, a little more ball control. And he's just loving it. You know, he's moving the ball around, picking his hole. Right now there's a big hole in the middle, and that's probably where he's going to go. He's going to move it around and look for that big hole in the middle, which he did. He went off the guys, but that was a middle shot. Really is the only thing he had because the guy kept splitting his men up. But as I said, I thought the more experienced players would handle the pressure better, and that's how it's starting out right now. It looks like Colin Young and Lafredo seem to have the edge from a mental point of view.
So Lafredo and Colin Young lead 2-0 over Biney and Buck. And this match continues, and, you know, you said that was a middle shot. It's difficult for me, just as a rookie, Johnny, to imagine how he can make that shot when you have all these other men in front of you. I mean, it's difficult to get it that far in there.
Yeah, well, you know, I still remember the first time I ever played this game. I walked into an arcade in 1971, and I saw some hippies playing it, and I was just absolutely amazed by the way they control the ball. And when an amateur sees these type of players move the ball around like that, they can't imagine that they move it around and also look for a hole. But that's what he's doing. As he's moving around, he's looking at their men, he's seeing the hole, and he can shoot it as soon as it's open, or momentarily later.
And just like that, Lafredo and Colin Young lead 3-0 now. And so the pressure is really on Biney and Buck to come back here and come back strong very, very soon.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, right now it's not looking good for them because they're not, Steve is not traditionally a comeback player. Some people are better at that than others, and he's not one of the better comeback players. But you never know. It's one ball at a time. He's got the ball now, one score, and it's 3-1. So let's see what he does here. He shoots a pull shot. A pull shot is where you set it up all the way against the other side with your middle man and pull the ball towards you, trying to go long, middle, or straight with that pull shot. And the The last 2 or 3 times, Steve has shot it without sitting on the ball and looking at the defense, which is also a sign of either inexperience. I wouldn't say that. Steve's an experienced player, but he's definitely feeling the pressure here.
And that was one more pull shot right there.
At 4-0, it's not looking good.
And, you know, these finals matches are rather unique because in a lot of games we don't see a 7-point game. Or we see several rounds. This is just one 7-point game.
Right. This throws you completely out of your game. It's like playing blackjack to 22. I don't know if you've ever been in one of those places, but it just throws you off. The best way to play a format when you're not used to it like this is just play it one ball at a time and don't even think about the score. Obviously, Colin Young's doing that.
Speaking of scoring, Biney and Buck just scored, so it's 4-1 now. Lafredo and Colin Young still holding a commanding lead in this game.
Absolutely, and if you looked at that last time Colin Young just shot, he sat on the ball about 8 seconds. You have a total of 15 seconds on the rod, and he sat on it about half the time. In comparison, Biney shot the ball immediately without even looking at the hole. That's a sign of nervousness.
Yeah, why is that? I mean, why the pressure is on, obviously, to score and score quickly, and I would assume that's what leads to that sort of thinking.
Yeah, in big matches like this, when there's a lot of money on the line, a lot of times players will get nervous, and it's not getting nervous, it's how you deal with it. Usually the best thing to do is just accept the fact and do the best you can to execute the shot, not try to do too much. But when you're quick shooting like Biney's doing, you're taking away your opportunity to beat them. There's nothing wrong with a quick shot once in a while, but he's done it several times, and he's just not reading the defense.
So there we go again. Lafredo and Colin Young, they up the ante now. The score 5-1 they lead. And 2 more points, they've got this game locked up.
Yeah, and that was a score from goalie by Lafredo. He's a very good goalie. He's also a great forward. He's just a good all-around player. There you go again. Biney shot the ball without setting on it for more than a second. As you can see here, Lafredo and Colin Young switch. They do that a lot. Personally, I don't like it. I think it's a little bit brash, but they're good players. They can play either position. But, you know, Colin Young, in my opinion, should just stay up front and finish these guys. I lost the World Championship in 1975 when I had the other team down 4-0. And, you know, you can have somebody down and all of a sudden lose. So I wouldn't be messing around. But they look like they're going to win without any problem here.
Well, and just like that, they scored again. And
yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of their shots come from the far end of the court, and that's not what you would expect. You would expect them to, as we said earlier, to scrap it forward and to shoot the closer they get to the goal. That's not their strategy, though.
Well, it's not a strategy so much. They're just playing well right now, you know, and Lafredo's shooting well. Colin Young, I think he just scored from the back. They're just good all-around players. And there it is. Colin Young, Lafredo, Open Doubles champions, first Warrior, Extravaganza, largest tournament held in 20 years. 2 of the best players in the world. As I said, it really came down to the pressure. Biney and Buck just they looked like they were a different team than they were when I watched them earlier in the weekend.
So there you have it, Johnny. You're going downstairs to talk to them, and the final score in this Open Doubles Championship is 7-1. Lafredo and Colin Young take it over Steve Biney and Chris Buck. Let's go down to Johnny.
Congratulations. I mean, we really enjoyed seeing you guys here, and it's nice having somebody win that's such good sports and, you know, really play the game the way it should be played. Thank you very much. Okay, back to you, Troy.
Well, thanks, Johnny. We're back down here in the pit for the start of the Open Singles Championship. And I've got a huge question for you as you rejoin us now, Johnny. How often do you see the winner, or not the winner, but just a contestant of the doubles make it to the singles as well?
Well, I mean, Brendan Flaherty, the owner of the company, he's going to sit in on this. What do you think about that, Brendan?
Got the same eyes you got, Johnny, over the last 20 years or so. Up until, I'd say the last, about decade, it was pretty much unheard of.
Normally, you see only one game when you get to this point, the Open Singles Championship. Today we're going for 2. Why is that?
Well, this is double elimination. This sport, it gives a little bit of an opportunity to the slow starters to come back through the loser's bracket. Yeah, they're starting the second match pretty quick. That means that...
I don't know if that's smart for Terry.
Yeah, there's definitely either he's very confident or he's overconfident because
Just lost 7-1.
Yeah, he might.
How much confidence do you think you got?
Yeah, 7-1 into the best player in the world. I think I'd take a couple of minutes and get psyched up.
So we could be watching a free-for-all right here on the part of Terry Moore.
No, you never know. Terry, don't underestimate Terry Moore. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he's a very, very good player.
He surprises real big right here.
I think you've got a situation where Terry's one of those kind of players that he can't really take it up a notch physically. He's just a very good execution player. He's got a very strong game, and he just tries to play strong mentally. Whereas me and Brendan right now, we'd be moving the table all over the place. We wouldn't be giving this match away.
I guarantee you that. If this money was, if we're on this table, there's no doubt, Johnny, if we had to play these two guys, they'd have to know how to play a little more foosball right now, wouldn't they?
Well, I'll tell you, I mentioned this during the doubles match. It's amazing because a lot of these key shots are coming from way back in the backfield there, and they somehow managed to get it into the goal. And it seems nearly impossible, but there really is a strategy. There really is a way to do this.
Absolutely. And I know, Troy, that this is the first big tournament you've been to, and I can imagine you've definitely seen a lot of unique things here. But can you really believe people have this much control at this level? I mean, did you believe you'd see that much?
Well, I'll tell you, Brendan, I've heard people saying all weekend long they practice for 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. Some people way back in the heyday used to make a living off this. So, it is believable. But I can't imagine, at least myself, having this much discipline.
Sometimes the camera doesn't really illustrate the power too. These shots go up to 50 miles an hour, and I mean they're just.
Terry Moore, I think he's trying to step it up a little bit right now. I think he realizes it's now or never here. I would not be surprised to see him come out of nowhere on this one.
And this is big for Moore because it's either $10,000 or about $3,000. I mean, that's a big difference for a guy like him.
The other thing is, it's psychologically, it's got to be working on Terry because he used to be in Colin Young's position. He used to win everything.
And Colin Young leads now 2-1 in this match against Terry Moore. Not looking good for Terry.
It looks like he's been dominated.
Yeah, Colin Young also is not an American player, which is unique because the prize money tournaments came into America in the mid-'70s, and we've been playing in big tournaments for 25 years. And he's the first European player to really have an impact, and boy, he's had a big impact.
Well, we've heard this called all weekend high-speed chess. That's what some people liken Foos to. And if it's high speed, then the speed is certainly on Colin Young's side. He leads now 4-1 over Terry Moore.
Yeah, this last game was 7-1. I wonder if Terry's remembering which side of the goal on this table he's supposed to shoot at, because it doesn't look like he's aiming at the right spot here.
Yeah.
That's 5-1. Now, I'll tell you right now, the Terry Moore I know, this would be the spot. I've seen him in this spot. I've seen him win a lot of matches over the years in this spot.
Wow.
I would not be surprised to watch him step it up big right here.
But I'll tell you one thing, and you know this as well as I do, Brendan, you don't want to be in this spot. You'd much be rather have those 5 points on your side.
There it is.
But we saw at the same. We saw it in the open doubles where the pressure, just this format is rough on people. There's a lot of money, and they've never played in this format before for this kind of money. Usually, the only time you play in a 1-7 format, a race to 7, is in the losers bracket sometimes. So, and these guys don't get a losers bracket very much. So it's new to them, but I've noticed that most of these guys are top pros, and they're not complaining. They're just getting up there and.
That is the top side of a top professional. 5-1. Okay, he took a timeout. That is big, because the thing, 98% of the people would not take a timeout there, but he knows if he can put this one in, it's basically the coffin is closed.
So is this so much timeout for Federico to think, or is it more of a timeout maybe to psych out Terry Moore on the other side?
It's a combination of both, but I'll tell you what I think it's like, Brendan, if you can say what you think.
He wants to put this ball in the hole.
He wants to do everything possible.
He doesn't care about Terry right now.
Well, I'll tell you what, should Terry Moore go on to lose this match here, this final round singles championship, the upside, guys, is...
There goes a point. Don't count him out. I've seen him in the past.
So Moore
this is
striking back.
That was a big point. He knew he came up with the block at 5-1. Now he scored. Now we'll see. He still needs this next one, but if he gets this next one, you got to look out for him.
There was an official stoppage there for the drop or something. I don't know. I guess the other player wasn't ready.
He scored. I think he scored when you blinked, Johnny.
No, he scored, but he stopped him because I think he dropped it before he was ready.
So Moore is not going to be written off as soon as everyone
doesn't look good.
Might hope. So the score right now, 6-3. Colin Young leads Terry Moore in this Open Singles Championship.
Terry's taking his time.
Nice.
Man.
He's not going to make it easy. Still doesn't look good, but he isn't going to give up.
There's the old.
Never has.
That was certainly the hand is quicker than the eye. I didn't even see which hole that went in. These guys look sober, Troy, because they've all lost to these two guys.
I was about to say that. I mean, these are very familiar faces.
I think a couple of them are waiting for him to collect the prize money and waiting outside.
That's a day's look of having lost already to these guys and going to that free bar Brendan had for one too many.
I was going to go and see how it was going, but I couldn't fight my way into the bar, so I couldn't see what was going on.
I'll tell you, the line was out to the casino.
Oh, there you go.
And there we have the match.
It's over, guys. Federico, man, he's just he's dominated this tournament. If he didn't put his stamp on this, I don't know how else he could have.
I wasn't so jealous I'd go congratulate.
Yeah.
So, Federico Colin-Young, the young wonder from Belgium, takes the Open Singles Championship 7-4 over Terry Moore.
It's good for the sport, too, because he's a professional. You don't see him get mad too much. He plays his game. I mean, he represents the sport well. Well, I just want to thank Brendan Flaherty for setting in on us, folks, and I hope you got a little bit of an idea what the future holds. Keep an eye out for Warrior at, I guess they can go to our website, can't they?
Absolutely.
www.warriortablesoccer, folks.
Just after 1 a.m. here in Las Vegas, the Warrior Indoor-Outdoor Sports Extravaganza is finally concluded. Federico Colin-Young takes the Open Singles Championship, takes the doubles as well with Todd Lafredo as he kisses his girlfriend goodnight. The perfect capper to the first annual Warrior Indoor-Outdoor Sports Extravaganza, the largest table soccer tournament since the heyday of foosball back in the 1970s, ends with a victory by Federico Colin-Young in the Open Singles and Colin-Young and Lafredo in the Open Doubles. We're talking about over $200,000 in prize money that was handed out here in Las Vegas. That's only expected to grow as the $1 Million Tour continues. But for us here in Vegas, it's on to, hopefully, Europe and then back to America again to wrap up the Warrior World Tour. For the Warrior Indoor Sports Network, I'm Troy Kinsey. For all of us here in Vegas, so long.